I find this interesting. I've been the quote unquote Lance guy for 2 years. I make one video just telling you how I saw today about Brock Purdy, and people are all over the comments like,
Oh
"Oh,
my
you're a
God.
Purdy guy.
Oh,
You're a this. You're." I'm like, "Whoa." Either you've never seen my content. I don't know what to tell you, but I just wanted to say I thought it was funny. I don't really care. I'm going to tell you guys what I saw regardless. I just thought it was funny, but the reason it's coming at me that direction is because people were saying that Grant said that there was two near interceptions. And so I wanted to clear this up because the way that it is reported by the people on the field versus the way that Rohan and myself have chosen to do this is very different. And so the context changes and there are things that matter here. So when there's a sack or a penalty, I just don't count it. I just say, hey, it was a sack. If there's a penalty, I just don't talk about it. It didn't happen, basically. So today I saw Brock Purdy get sacked 4 times. In those 4 sacks, he completed 3 passes. Actually, the best pass, quote unquote, pass he had today was after a sack, I thought, in the back corner of the end zone, but it doesn't count because he was sacked. Also, he threw the ball directly in a player's chest after he got sacked. And I looked at Rohan, I was like, damn, that was like the pick 8 play, like joking, right? But I didn't count it because he was sacked. So if it was a sack, then the near interception didn't happen either. So that's the reason. But when you look at it, I know Jack does it this way. I believe Lombardi does. I don't know what Lombardi does actually. I don't know what he does, but I know that Jack does it this way. I know that Grant does it this way. I know a lot of people do it this way where they will literally count every single throw before and after a sack, doesn't matter. And then they will tell you that they were sacked also. They will tell you both essentially, hey, the pass was complete or incomplete. Here's what happened, or it was a near interception, or it was intercepted, but it was also a sack. So they will give you both, which is different than what I do and what
correct.
it looks like Rohan does. So that is the context that you're going to get. Yes, today he did have 2 near picks. That is factual. One was thrown directly in the chest of a defender. The other one was by Diamador Lenore. But on that play, at least from my angle, I thought I saw a penalty flag thrown. They
It was
called
holding.
holding, I believe,
Yeah.
on the defense. I don't even know if it was holding on Lenore. I thought Lenore was in good position. I thought that he won that position fairly, but they called holding, so I didn't count the play. However, if you are counting every pass play, completions, incomplete, whatever, then yes, there were 2 near picks. So it's all in how you chart things. So that's why you're going to see a discrepancy based off of what I saw today. I thought Brock Purdy had his best day by far. I don't think it was an A day. I'm not going crazy and saying, oh man, he blew up and was incredible. Like if I'm comparing Brock Purdy's day today to Trey Lance's day yesterday, Trey Lance wins hands down, and it's not particularly close. But if I'm comparing today, I do think Purdy had the best day of all the quarterbacks. I gave him a B plus. He was 6 of 7 on the throws that I charted that weren't sacks or penalties. He had 1 TD in the red zone period. And the reason that I'm not going to give him an A off of that is because he also took 4 sacks. And those things matter. Regardless of what's going on around him, yesterday he took a few sacks. Today he took 4 sacks. I'm not going to hold it against him and be like, oh, he can't be a good quarterback and he'll never work through it. I don't know. But today, I can't give somebody an A that is taking sacks because if you're taking sacks at some point, that's going to kill drives and that can be an issue. So for me, I had Purdy at a solid B plus. I thought he was the best quarterback, and that's the way that I saw it. Rohan, how did you see it?
That's interesting because you're a little more bullish. I have him right now at in the middle between a B and a B plus, but it's a
Mhm.
very similar diagnosis. For those of you guys looking at context and trying to compare, because I know a lot of people were trying to. I didn't see your video yet, but I know a lot of people were trying to flood my comments saying, "Oh, you said this about Purdy, you said this about Lance." I don't care who wins the competition. I don't. I'm just charting who's the better quarterback on that day, who'll end up being the better quarterback in camp overall when camp is over. I don't care about that stuff. Instead, what I'm looking at is how did Purdy play today? And Jesse's right. The way that I've been charting, starting from last year, going on to this year, if a play ends in a sack and then a quarterback throws the ball after the play, I personally don't count it because in a true NFL landscape, once a sack happens, the play is dead. So that's the way that I chart things. Although I do ensure that I write down the context of the play after the sack to give myself a full representation of what that play is, and I try and share it with you guys so you guys have a good understanding of, even though he was sacked, what happened on that play. However, in my stats, in my grades, I don't count that play as a completion, incompletion, good play, bad play, that type of thing. It's essentially a not applicable. Now, as for Purdy's performance today, he was 6 of 7. Some people might have him up to 11 throws because he did take 4 sacks on the day, and I didn't count any of those 4 throws as sacks. Let's start with the bad. His lone incompletion of the day, I believe, was to Brandon Ayuk, and this one wasn't too bad. I mean, it was great protection from the offensive line, had plenty of time. It was in the red zone. Purdy rolls out, tries to hit Ayuk in the corner, had a very similar play for a touchdown yesterday, or I believe yesterday, had a similar play for a touchdown yesterday or a few days ago. But this time he airs it out too wide for Brandon Ayuk. It's a tough throw to make given that he's trying to pinpoint at the back of the end zone, but still it's an off-target throw. Some of the other poor plays, the play that Jesse mentioned, where Purdy essentially threw an out route to George Kittle, Diamondo Lenore was all over it and nearly intercepted that pass. The play was called a holding penalty, and the referee pointed to Diamondo Lenore, which David Lombardi did. I know some of y'all might not like that name, but David Lombardi did confirm on his own Twitter account that I saw on the timeline that it was a holding penalty against Lenore. That is something that I saw there. And personally, I can't confirm whether the holding penalty when the holding penalty came, but it felt as if it came when Kittle was coming out of his break because he had a slight lead coming out of his break, and then Lenore bridged the gap there. Maybe it wasn't holding but from what my angle was, that was how the play went. Again, was it the best throw? No, because it took it took a little while to get there. It wasn't on a zip or something like that, but it was a play that was ruled dead due to the holding penalty on Diamondo Lenore. As for the other plays, a lot of people talked about Purdy, dumping off passes here in the chat and things like that. I charted Purdy as having 3 passes over 10 yards, 10 air yards. The first play that Purdy had, the first throw Purdy had was a 10 to 15-yard play to Brandon Ayuk. Ambry Thomas was in coverage. It was fairly open. It's not necessarily wide open, but it was fairly open, and got that for a first down. His second throw was a play action crosser to Deebo Samuel, got 20 yards on the play. Ambry Thomas, unfortunately, once again was in coverage. Solid throw. It was to the sideline. Good timing on the play, but a nice throw from Purdy and a fairly good catch from Deebo Samuel there. Had a screen pass, had the incompletion we just mentioned. So he ended the first period 3 for 3. In the second period, his first real throw was a dump off to TDP in the red zone. This was red zone play because he got sacked on his opportunities prior to that. Dump off to TDP in the red zone, a check down. Then he threw the incompletion that I just mentioned to Brandon Ayuk, and then fired a touchdown pass to Deebo Samuel for about 8 yards over the middle in the red zone period. So he there ends 6 of 7. Couple of good throws in there, 2 good throws, one 10 yards, one 20 yards, and then the Deebo Samuel one was about 8 yards. So it's a variety of plays. Was it an A day for Brock Purdy? No, because I did believe he took 2 sacks on the day, or I thought he took at least one. The second one is iffy. You can question whether it's his fault or whether it's the offensive line fault. 2 of them I did blame on the offensive line, but because of that compartment, as well as some of the poor decisions that he made, even on some of those throws, and due to the day not being necessarily a perfect day with the length of the throws and things like that, Purdy is going to earn a B to a B plus in my book today.